Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's our first episode in, I don't know, like two
Of,
months or something.
is it of the new year?
Yeah, I think. I don't think we did one in the new year. Anyway, we're going to be talking about Batman. Just came out. We saw it yesterday at a Thursday night showing. And we're just going to kind of talk about the movie and then if we think you should see it this weekend or not. If you're thinking about going out and seeing a movie, is this one worth going to see? I don't think anything else big really opened against it. So, unless you're going to see like a movie that's been out in theaters for a while, this is really the only movie that's new this week anyway, at least in like a big market.
Yeah.
Or like very wide release and not like an indie theater or something. Anyway, uh, we're chicken on a stick, as you can see up top. Like I said at the beginning, we haven't done this since I think New Year's
New Year's, I
Eve,
think.
basically leading into New Year's. It's been a while, but January and December aren't the best for movies, so
Not much going on.
yeah, there wasn't really a big reason to come back. But now we have a reason to come back and do an episode. Um, yeah, Maggie here, Team Maggie, rocking the cat ears for Catwoman.
I have Catwoman ears. I have cat ears. I did dark Catwoman eye makeup, and I have little fake jewels on my hands, as Selena Kyle would steal. And you can't see it, but my pants have a black cat on them. So
They do.
glows in the dark too.
The cat does, or the
Oh, I think
the
it does.
ghost?
I think the ghost does.
I think, yeah. I don't think the black cat glows in the dark. Anyway, there's not a lot to really go to here. Welcome in, D-Pad. How are you doing?
D-pad.
With your nice animated waving emote. Um, so we're just going to talk about the Batman. I mean, we can basically jump right in real quick to just kind of give you a synopsis of the movie versus watching a trailer like we used to do. I don't know. Yeah, that never really worked out great. But anyway, the synopsis, real quick, for the movie is just Batman ventures into Gotham City's underworld when a sadistic killer leaves behind a trail of cryptic clues. As the evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale of the perpetrator's plans become clear, he must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the abuse of power and corruption that has long plagued the metropolis. And by the metropolis, they obviously mean Gotham City, not to be confused with. Doesn't matter. Anyway, hashtag Team Maggie, of course, as always. So this movie, just technically its release date is today, March 4th of 2020, but we saw it yesterday.
I'm gonna get my back pillow.
You tell her to be ready by a time, and she can't be ready by a time. Anyway, directed by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson as Batman Bruce Wayne, Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Jeffrey Wright as Captain James Gordon, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, Andy Serkis as Alfred, and John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. Those are pretty much all the main players as far as the movie goes, and then the big names in the cast. Although there are some other ones, like Peter Sarsgaard is in it in a pretty bit role that, if you know who he is, you'll recognize him. If you don't, I'm pretty sure he's the one where you leaned over and you're like, he looks familiar.
Yeah.
That's why it's a Sarsgaard.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And music by Michael Giacchino. I don't know
That
if
was
you
Michael
recognize
Giacchino?
that. Yeah. I don't know if you realize that or not.
My problem is I have Phantom Giacchino where I always think I'm hearing him, and sometimes it's not him. So he's my favorite musical composer.
Yeah. So I don't even remember when this movie was necessarily announced. I do remember when people heard that Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman. They all cried a lot because everybody still associates him with Twilight.
Even though he's done some really
So many things since
some really
then.
good
Some
roles
really
since
good
then.
stuff since then. Good Time, one of the Safdie brothers movies, is fantastic. He was great in Tenet.
Yeah.
That was great. Which, although I do think Tenet was a big release, so when people saw that and saw how he was in it, they're like, "Oh my god, now I actually do have hope for him to be Batman." While I was the whole time going, "Watch Good Time. It's on Netflix and it's awesome."
I think the same people that always like kept him in that little box are the same people that when they heard Kristen Stewart was going to be Princess Diana, that they were like, "Oh, she's going to be terrible at it. We only know her as Bello." And then they
Was that
watched
her name?
in the
I don't
Twilight
even
movie, yeah.
remember. The
And then
white girl in Twilight.
and then they watched it, and she's
She was
phenomenal.
pretty good
So
for a subpar movie. Oh, got him. Anyway, to be honest, I don't think. I think after first off, I think this movie is going to do very, very, very well, and well enough to where the conversation is no longer Robert Pattinson. Oh yeah, ooh, he's a sparkly vampire. No,
yeah,
it's going to be like, oh yeah, he played Batman.
exactly.
Um, which is great for him. And what she's doing?
That was driving me crazy.
What?
You could see the cat litter scooper in the background.
Oh my god. Okay. You gotta just like adjust the camera. Anyway. And then I will say, Paul Dano as the Riddler, just kind of get this off front. I still think Paul Dano is not like a well-known actor. He's done a lot of stuff, and he's been in a lot of like popular or successful movies. Like he's the brother in Little Miss Sunshine. He was in There Will Be Blood. He's done like a lot of things that have gotten a lot of praise or won awards or like were really liked by people. But I still think he's like slipped under the radar for the most part. Not anymore. Not anymore. He's gonna be all over the place.
If you had a penny for every time
Well,
you
actually,
saw
I
that,
don't know if he'll be all over the place because I'm sure he's one of those people who like is very picky with his
I think
movies.
he is. But when we first found out, like when we first saw the trailer for this, and then subsequently maybe the next 10 times we saw the trailer, each time I was like, "Who's Paul Dano again?" And you had to be like, "This guy." And I was like, "Oh, fuck, yeah, that's it.
Mhm.
That's it." He's one of those guys like you remember his face, you may not always remember his name, but he was so good in this movie.
Yeah. And then and like Zoe Kravitz is also sort of coming up, like kind of rising, but like she's got a very famous father, so you've heard if you don't necessarily know her, you know the Kravitz name, and you're like, oh, is she related to that guy who sang that song about flying away or whatever?
American Woman.
Yeah, there you go. Jeffrey Wright. You've seen him a long time all over the place. He's good as a James Gordon, and then everyone knows Andy Serkis from as most famously as Gollum, but all of his like motion capture CGI work he's done, or his more recent spin as Claw. I think is what the character's name was from Black Panther and Age of Ultron.
He also did the Thriller dance in 13 Going on 30 with Jennifer Garner.
Was he in that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
It was the first time I'd ever seen him like actually be.
I
him.
don't particularly remember that. I remember like the main point of the movie. Mm-hmm. Like I know that they go into a closet for like 7 seconds in heaven or whatever the hell it's called, and then she like fast forwards. And isn't it? Are you sure that's him?
Yeah.
Is the guy not Mark Ruffalo?
There's also Mark Ruffalo. He's the love interest.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Maybe that's where I was getting confused.
Yeah, Serkis isn't the main character.
And then also John Turturro's in this. Everybody knows John Turturro. You've seen him in everything. He's just been in so many things, so it's not too surprising. The biggest one though, and the craziest one, if you had no idea going into this movie at all that Colin Farrell was in this movie, if you stayed and like read the credits and you're like, who was that played the Penguin? That guy was awesome. And then you get to the credits and you read Colin Farrell, you're going to be like,
there's
what?
No way.
That's not Colin Farrell.
There's
no Colin Farrell. It's like, sure, he's putting on like a fat suit and has a lot of prosthetics for his face or something. That's to help him get to like the more generalized look of the Penguin from like the comics and everything. But dude, it's almost like, remember in Tropic when Tropic Thunder came out and nobody had any idea that Tom Cruise was in that movie.
Yeah.
And then you're watching the movie and you're like, that guy kind of looks familiar. And then you get to the credits and it's like Tom Cruise and you're like, holy
What?
shit, that was Tom Cruise. This is almost the same thing, except no way visually would you ever guess this is Colin Farrell.
At least
Like,
in
at
Tropic
all.
Thunder, there was like a whisper
Yeah,
of
you
Tom
can
Cruise
tell
in it.
as soon as you, even knowing going into the movie that the Penguin was Colin Farrell, still seeing him, I'm like, that's not Colin Farrell.
Doesn't
That
sound like
doesn't.
him.
With
Even
Tropic
his
Thunder, like knowing that it's Tom Cruise, I see that
yeah.
it's Tom Cruise in like a bald cap or whatever, and a like a pillow stuffed for a stomach or something. But Colin Farrell is like,
It's not. It's
I
not
really
even.
like him, and I think he's been great in a lot of things. But there's something about and he kind of says this in the YouTube show Hot Ones, where they interview and eat hot wings. He was their most recent guest, and he talked a little bit about being in a fat suit, and that it was like really freeing for him to have these prosthetics and stuff to where he was basically hidden. And I think that must just be what it was. He must have just felt like he had all this
Yeah.
room towards like, I can really just be this character, and like people aren't just gonna look and be like, oh, that's Colin Farrell.
It's one thing too for an actor. I mean, he's got a very heavy accent. I mean, it's not very heavy, but he's got an Irish accent. It's
Yeah.
not just that he did a different dialect and changed his accent. He changed his whole tonality. Like the tonality of his voice was suddenly like grittier and like old. I don't know how he did that, but it was doesn't even sound like him.
Yeah, I mean, I was, yeah. So I mean, those are like the main players. Again, there's some other people who are sort of secondary characters or whatever. None of them play like super particularly big roles. Um, but you had no idea Colin Farrell was Irish.
Are you being sarcastic? He's being
He must.
sarcastic.
He must be. That's like going. I didn't know Deepak was from Boston. No way.
He's from Boston?
Or Massachusetts. No way. No way. That guy. Mm-mm. Um. Yeah,
Totally. Yeah,
totally
there you
sarcastic.
go.
I'll say I think all of the main cast I think are good. To like really good. But like, first off, Paul Dano basically steals the show as the Riddler, but Colin Farrell is up there. His Penguin is so good.
Yeah.
Just both of them like knock it out of the park. They're great. This Riddler is like no Riddler I've ever seen in anything before, and that's like, the animated series, Jim Carrey's turn as the Riddler, all of the video games, all of the animated movies, all of that. This Riddler is like Riddler by name, and the fact that he does like, riddles and puzzles and stuff as part of his like crimes or murder spree. I did hear this movie, and I almost wanted to say this in like a little review that I sort of typed up, but I didn't quite say it. But he feels like Matt Reeves, or whoever maybe the writers were, kind of looked at like horror thriller movies over the last like 20 years or so, and kind of took some of the best parts of some horror villains or like thriller movies. This is being compared a lot to the movie Seven and the Zodiac. And you can kind of see it with Paul Dano's character, where he kind of is like, he's like John Doe from Seven, where all of the murders and stuff are like really sort of theatric, but they also have meaning in some sort of way. And in this, they're like the puzzles and whatnot. But also at the same time, like his get up is like he wears a full mask, which is new. There's Riddler hasn't done that before or whatever. You see all this stuff in trailers, so I'm not spoiling anything that much. But it does feel like it's sort of like a Zodiac killer thing. There's like a code that's encrypted. Like the Zodiac had the cipher or whatever to try and figure shit out, and he's wearing like this full mask where you don't really see anything. And it's like, if you looked at like the sketches that people said of when they saw the Zodiac and he was just wearing like this like hood and all this whatever. It's very it just comes across that way, and the way that Paul Dano plays it and the way that it was probably wrote, it just it adds that extra layer. And instead of Riddler being like over the top goofy like Jim Carrey did it, or like he is sometimes in like the animated movies or series or stuff, he's like very like it's actually like scary. It's
Oh
terrifying. He
yeah,
comes off
he's creepy as fuck.
he comes off really dark and scary, and it's such a great turn. Um, it's gonna be weird. I think I don't know if it's gonna resonate with people as much as like Heath Ledger's Joker did, but I would put it in the conversation for the best live action Batman villain of all time.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And off of like what you're saying about how it really has more of that like true crime kind of essence thing, I'd be really interested. I know that there's probably wives and girlfriends out there that they're not into the comic book thing and they don't like the nerdy comic book movies, but are obsessed with true crime.
Yeah.
They're gonna love this movie and they're gonna lose that idea that this is a comic book story. So they're gonna be able to appreciate it.
Yeah. And it almost now I know other people have said this, but I say it all the time that one of the things that makes The Dark Knight such a good movie is that it's not that it's a good movie, like a good comic book movie. It's like past that. It's just a good movie.
Yeah.
Like a great movie. It's fantastic. There's not many bad things to say about it. It's a fantastic movie that just happens to be about comic book characters. And I feel like this is in the same it's literally in the same conversation.
For real.
Uh it's almost if you removed everything that makes this a Batman movie, like
It's still a good movie.
undress Robert Pattinson as Batman and just put him in like
Trench
again,
coat.
yeah, think of like Seven again. Put him
Yeah.
in like a trench coat,
Give him
like
a briefcase.
he's a detective in a corrupt precinct or something.
Still a great movie.
It's literally then it's just a crime thriller, and it would still work uh almost entirely. There's probably some things that wouldn't necessarily work to
Hmm.
translate it to not be a comic book movie, but you could say the same thing about The Dark Knight.
Hmm.
But it's a great movie past being like a comic book movie. So I think Maggie's point, she's right, is that if somebody's like, "Oh, I don't want to go see the Batman, like it's a comic book movie. I've seen
Yeah.
a Batman a million times." It's like,
The
no.
Riddler wears a goofy suit and he does rhymes.
Like
Absolutely not.
it's not a comic book movie. It's literally like a detective thriller. Which is something to point out that like first off, not even first off, we're like way into this. So this is
Hmm.
like the 60th thing I'm gonna say. But I will say the movie is like 2 hours and 58 minutes or
Hmm.
something. Like it's just shy of exactly 3 hours. It is too long. It's maybe like 10, 15 minutes too long. There's one scene that I'm not really going to talk about that's maybe just past the 2 hour mark that I feel like is kind of pointless because it feels like they bring up an issue and then it's almost resolved immediately, and then it's just kind of like, what was the point of that
Yeah.
then? So I think maybe you could have cut that and saved like 10, 15 minutes possibly, and it would have felt just like a tighter sort of experience. It's not that the movie's boring or anything. It's just, like 3 hours period is a long time to really be sitting in a theater with no like intermission or chance to take a break or something like that. I did see that the Batman will be coming out on HBO Max, I think April 1st or sometime early April. Maybe not exactly April 1st, maybe April 11th.
Hmm.
Something like that. So, if you're not going to necessarily see it in theaters and you want to wait until it's at home, then you have the opportunity of like you could watch like an hour and a half,
Break it up.
pause it, go to the bathroom, make food or something, and then start it again, and you won't lose anything. And then you basically are just watching two movies back to back. Um, so yeah, I think the movie's a little bit too long, but that's like a tiny nitpick for me because everything else I think is pretty much phenomenal or like perfect. Um, um, what do you think?
I feel like one of two things happens when you get a movie that is that long. which is either it was so long that I got bored and I stopped caring, or you get it didn't even feel that long. And I feel like I'm in a weird medium because I never got bored. I was still excited from beginning to end. I didn't fall asleep or anything, but I did like at one point when I realized it was there was still an hour left. I was like, oh Jesus Christ. But so I don't know. It's somewhere in the middle, but I am happy that we did see it in the theater. I think that was a really good experience to see it.
Yeah, we went and saw it. The biggest screen near us is a Dolby Cinema, which is at the AMC's. It's basically just a really big screen, and the room gets like super dark, and the projector's something fancy where the darker colors are darker than normal screens or something, whatever. That's almost always the theater we go to. It's very rare that we actually go to like a normal
Mhm.
theater unless it's like a just like not the big release that week, so it's only playing in one of the other
Like little
theaters.
indie theater.
But I don't know.
I would say just alone, and I've heard someone else say this. There's a, and you, it's not a spoiler or anything because you see it in the promo for the movie, but there's a car chase, and people are saying it is one of the best car chase scenes in a long time in a movie theater, and I feel like that on the big screen was kind of worth it. I mean, the whole movie's
Yeah,
worth it, but that
yeah.
that car chase scene was insane.
I'm just thinking. I don't know. I think visually the movie's really good. I do like the car chase was great. So I guess the Dark Knight was sort of this way. It's not a lot of action.
Mhm.
Like the Dark Knight opens with an action scene, sort of, where they're, yeah, I guess you'd technically consider it action. The whole bank heist
Right.
scene, 'cause it's got a lot of moving parts and everything, yeah.
That one.
Um, and it feels like that's probably got a bit more action sprinkled throughout
Mhm.
than this movie necessarily does. Because this movie, I think we kind of already said, is first and foremost um, like a detective thriller movie, basically, and then it's a Batman movie. So when the action does happen, um, like there's something about the way that it's shot, which is super good,
Mhm.
and I don't know, it feels like extra brutal. I don't know what it is about the way they shot it, or maybe it's just like the fight choreography
It
that they
had a
sort of
very
went
like
with.
rawness to it.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know what it is, but it just feels good. It's not like
It was
the
it was like when someone got punched or when someone got hit. I don't know why, but you kind of like felt it. Like it was some sort of sound that just like reverberated in the audience.
yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. Um I kind of told her going into this whenever we were driving there. Um it's not, they'll tell you this on, like, if you look it up on, I don't know, maybe Wikipedia or something, or if you see like an interview about it, that this movie is very, and well, I gotta stress, very loosely based on the Batman comic storyline of The Long Halloween.
Which I did not know about.
Um, which is, you don't need to know about going into it. But if you do know about it, if you've read it or if you've watched the two-part movie that they have available on HBO Max, you'll see pieces of that storyline ripped straight from that story and input into this movie. Um, but for the most part, it's like wholly original. Everything with the Riddler is not from the Long Halloween. Um, just the general setup of Batman, and they mentioned this at like the very beginning of the movie, that you pick up pretty early on. I think it's even said in the trailer. This isn't like Robert Pattinson hasn't been Batman for like 10 years or
Right.
something.
He's not
He's
seasoned.
he's this is like his second year of being Batman, so he's really early on into being Batman.
We also get a very early on Selena
Um,
Kyle.
yeah, so a lot of this stuff is like uh kind of just starting out.
Yeah.
I sort of said the same thing in my little written review, that Selena Kyle is not exactly like, she's not really playing Catwoman in this movie. She's
Right.
playing Selena Kyle, who just happens to be like a cat burglar kind of on the side. She's not exactly like Catwoman, as you, if you said Catwoman, you might think like Michelle Pfeiffer,
Exactly. She's
or
not Michelle Pfeiffer.
like the animated series Catwoman, who's like she's been like a hardened criminal cat burglar for a long time.
Yeah.
That's not really the case. Uh, James Gordon is not the commissioner. He's only a captain at this point, so he doesn't like you know, he's not like super high in the police, but he does have a little say over just like the grunts who walk the streets or whatever. Penguin is like people know him as the Penguin. I don't think they once say his name. I don't think they once call him. They call him
They call him
Oz.
Oz.
They
Yeah.
call him Oz for Oswald, like Cobblepot. But only like once or twice I think they say Oz.
Yeah.
Every other time they just refer to him as the Penguin. You know, he's not like running the show or anything.
Yeah.
He's still like an underling to uh Falcone, who's still the like criminal mob boss of the city or whatever. I do think I don't think you need to know. I like I was saying, need to know the Long Halloween going into this. I think it can enhance your experience because it's fun to be like, oh, ooh, that comes from there.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And then you kind of see the parallels because there are, like I said, they rip one or two plot lines directly from that.
But it was cool to be able to have you like lean over and be like, "Hey, this is actually from that's a reference to something."
And it just, I mean, if anything, I think it's a good way to be like, if you do point that out to your friends, or if you're just hearing it here from me for the first time, that maybe after, I mean, it would be up to you. If you're planning on seeing the Batman, I'd say wait until after, because then maybe you can be surprised and then you can watch The Long Halloween. But watch The Long Halloween, parts 1, part 2 on HBO Max. That is, as a whole, I think one of the better animated Batman movies. It's up there with The Dark Knight Returns, which is also a two-parter. I think both part 2s are better than both part 1s, but I think as a whole, even though in total it's a 3-hour movie, is like fantastic. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Also, what I loved because I get excited about silly little things is that the theater had drinks specifically for that. Like sometimes AMC they have drink. They'll do like some make a popcorn tin for the movie, or they'll do drinks or something. And they made two drinks. One is called the Bat, and one is called the Cat. In retrospect, probably shouldn't have paid $15 for each of those drinks. But the Bat drink had a red glow stick in it, and the Cat drink had a, was it purple or blue? Blue glow stick in it.
I think they said purple, but it was definitely blue.
It was definitely blue. So when you go into the theater and the lights shut down, they were like, the drinks are like illuminated, and I thought that was delightful. Very cute. They did have a popcorn. It wasn't a popcorn tin. It was like
It's a popcorn tin.
It was a tin?
Well, no. It's not a tin. It was a popcorn holder. Container? I don't know.
But it was Batman's mask. Cowl. But you open his skull.
It was so weird. It looks so weird.
You open his skull to eat the popcorn.
We got the one for the Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is cool because it's literally the Echo one, and you lift up the lid and then you put in the popcorn if you want, and it's got like working lights and whatever. But the Batman one is so weird. It's literally the cowl, and the part where his mouth would be, it's just empty. There's just nothing there. It's just an empty like pit. It's not like you can wear it or anything. And then at the top, where the ears are, it goes like this.
You would think that they would have put the popcorn portion of it maybe in the mouth. It's so
poorly designed.
But it was in his head. So
weirdly designed.
You would just like be holding his little thing and then open up his skull.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you put your arm in there and it's like a holder so you can, I don't know.
That's stupid.
It's very weird.
But anyway, so I thought I always like when they do a little bit of marketing for movies and up the price insanely for something, but it adds a little bit of fun to the experience.
Why? How do you? I don't like price gouging.
I don't, but it was fun. I took those glow sticks home.
Yeah. Where are they?
They're over there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
$15? Of course, I'm taking them home. They're not gonna
glow
glow anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably already don't.
Hi, buddy. But no, I really loved the movie. Aw. Got a little kiss from Max.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was kind of funny. I had a friend ask me earlier some things about the movie, and I told her that I thought it was fantastic, and she said, "Is it a fantastic Batman movie, or is it a fantastic movie?" And that was kind of the same
Thanks,
thing.
D-pad.
And love you, D-pad. And it was kind of one of those things where I said, "It's a fantastic movie," and that's the same thing. Like whether it's a comic book movie or not, it's just a really good movie. And
Yeah.
then I also said, or she asked, am I going to roll my eyes that the Twilight guy is in this, or is he fantastic? And I said, I liked his character. I liked his character, but these two villain characters were really amazing, and that made me think, in a lot of the Batman storylines and movies, more often than not, we're more fascinated with the actual villains of the story than we are by Batman. And like the Joker, that's what you think about mostly when you think about that
Yeah.
movie. And Tom Hardy being this bulked out, insane Bane, like that was really cool. Love that character. So like you always really
She
think
keeps wanting to love on Bane, and I can't.
I love
Rise is
Bane.
Rise is
I
just okay.
I would say I don't know. I like the one with Heath Ledger in it the most, obviously.
Hmm.
But I think this would probably go underneath that.
As second or
Okay,
third?
second. I changed my mind.
Oh, you changed your tune from last night?
I changed my tune.
This psychopath last night, after we saw the movie, wanted to say Dark Knight's still the best, then wanted to say Dark Knight Rises, and then wanted to say this. And first off, Dark Knight Rises shouldn't
I
be in the
love Christopher
conversation.
Nolan.
Shouldn't be in the conversation
I
for second
love
or
Christopher
third.
Nolan.
It should be like fifth, sixth, maybe best Batman movie.
Christopher Nolan's a ride or die.
And this isn't, if we're not counting any of the animated movies, Rise is maybe, and not counting Justice League or things where he shows up and like other people are there, only specifically Batman movies, Rise is definitely like fifth or sixth best. Easily. It's not, no, almost, look, before the Batman came out, for me it's literally Dark Knight and then Batman Beyond, or Batman Beyond, but Batman Begins. Batman Begins is
So
so
both Nolan movies.
underappreciated. I don't understand. That movie was great when it came out, and it's still great
Is that the
now.
Robin one?
No, that's the first Christopher Nolan one, Batman Begins.
Oh.
That movie's still great.
Oh, was that the one with Scarecrow?
Yeah, and Ra's al Ghul or Raish, whatever they call him.
Scarecrow was scary.
Yeah, that I think that was the first movie that I'd ever noticed Cillian Murphy in.
Hmm.
Although he had done like 28 Days Later and stuff before that, or 28 Weeks Later, whichever.
I
It
think the
doesn't
first
matter.
movie I saw him in was Red Eye with
But I
Rachel
would
McAdams.
say that came out after Batman
Was
Begins.
it?
Yeah. I will say now, to be honest, for me, between this movie and The Dark Knight, it's very like it's almost a toss up. I would say in Dark Knight, I really I Heath Ledger's performance as the Joker is legendary. Everybody loves it. It was really good. It definitely brought a new like flavor to the character and everything. People sleep on Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent and
Oh, I
the little bit of
loved
Two
him
Face that he
as Harvey
portrays
Dent.
in that movie. He's really great in that role, like fantastic in that role. Um, but if like, but I would give the Batman this one the edge on villains. I think Paul Dano's
Oh yeah,
Riddler
yeah.
is just as good as Heath Ledger's Joker,
Could you imagine if we had gotten them both in
and
a
I
movie
think
together?
I think Colin Farrell's Penguin is better than Aaron Eckhart's Two Face.
Yeah, I would agree
I
with
think
that.
the villains in this are better overall. Although I think Carmine Falcone is in this a bit, John Turturro, and I think he's, to be honest, I think he's fine. I think he's fine for the movie. I don't think he does anything particularly great. He's just, he's like the MacGuffin to move the story along, but
What
he's a person instead of an actual MacGuffin.
what's his character's name again? That's
Carmine Falcone.
Mahoney. Right. We saw him on the screen. I think it was like the second time around, and I was looking at him, and I leaned over, I leaned over to you, and I go, "We thought you was a toad. Is it that guy from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?"
She did lean over and go, "Is that the guy from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" And I was like, "Yes," and a ton of other movies.
We thought you was a toad.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think
He
I'd
was alright.
maybe still edge out. I'd have to be honest. Maybe I'll watch The Dark Knight sometime this weekend and see how I really feel.
I'd watch it again.
But just out of the live action movies, I do think it's currently I'm just putting The Dark Knight. It's been a while since I've watched it, but The Dark Knight and then The Batman, and then Batman Begins, and then probably 89 Batman, maybe
But
Rises, then maybe Batman Forever.
is Joker not in the list?
For what?
What do you mean for what? Is
Oh,
Batman
well, I mean,
because
you could put Joker in the list, but I'm very specifically thinking of a Batman-led movie, not necessarily Joker. I guess you could put that somewhere. It'd still probably be 4 or 5 for me. It'd still be behind Dark Knight, the Batman, and Batman Begins. I don't know where I'd put the Joker, to be honest, but um,
it'd be up there for me.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff to really like about this. I think literally the one ding about it, my only negative is that I think it's maybe about 20 minutes too long. But I can only really think in my brain, and it's not like I pulled out a watch and timed the scene or anything. I can only think of maybe a 5-10 minute scene that probably could have just been removed, and that maybe make it feel a little bit tighter, just because I do again think that 1 to 2 scene bit that are just back to back segments basically cancel each other out. Like, you don't need either of them because it doesn't really advance the story in any sort of meaningful way. You probably could have ended up in the same spot without it.
I agree, but I do have a second ding, and I wonder
All
if
right,
you...
D-pad. No, you cannot spoil.
I'm not gonna spoil.
Okay, I'm just making sure it's not the thing that you're actually really like
Okay.
upset about.
Okay, then I have 3 dings.
Uh-huh.
There's one I can't say, but there is another one that's very valid, and I'm wondering if you know what it is.
That you had to look away a few times because you thought it was too violent.
It wasn't that it was
Is
violent.
it the eyeball thing?
Zero tolerance
Oh my
policy.
God. She's got
Zero tolerance
zero
policy.
Look, nothing actually happens to a person's eyeball. There's contact lenses that they use, and there's like one shot of an up close of somebody taking a contact out, and she was like, "Oh God."
I just put it right in your face.
I actually thought that was pretty clever, though. The way that they implemented that
that's a
makes a
real
lot
thing.
of sense.
I wonder if that's a real thing. It was like a...
No, well, I don't know.
I don't know.
They have like whatever happened to Google Glass when you could have
Yeah,
like
what
the
did happen?
computer in your glasses or whatever.
What we're talking about is it's a contact lens that's basically like a
Spy camera.
like a camera, like a GoPro, but in your contact lens. I feel like
I don't know if that would work. I don't know if that would work.
I feel like
I don't know if cameras have been created that are that small
I remember when
or translucent. How would you?
when The Dark Knight came, or The Dark Knight Rises, I forget what it was, which one it was. Something came out, and I remember watching a show, and I think it was like on the Discovery Channel about how mechanics work. And they were basically saying how one of the cars in the movie or the motorcycle that like flipped around was an actual
That
military
was the
based
Dark
thing.
Knight.
And they were basically saying if you see technology in a movie that blows your mind, it probably already exists somewhere.
I don't know if that's 100% true. I think something like the motorcycle, because it was a practical effect,
Yeah.
of course that exists. They had to build it, or the tumbler was a military thing. In the Nolan, the Batmobile, the tumbler was an actual military, like, prototype or something, that they just, like, reworked to be like a really bulky tank Batmobile. So the motorcycle, I think, probably just some sort of offshoot, but it was a practical thing, so it really existed, and they spun it around, and that exists. I don't think every little thing you see is an actual thing in a movie.
I'm just saying, when you watch a movie in the very beginning, it shows the TVMA or rated R rating, and it says for drug use, violence, smoking, strobe lights. It should say eyeballs at exactly 1 hour and 48 minutes and 2 seconds into the
Are you
film.
gonna pull out your phone and time it at that point?
I should. I'm gonna start a website. Do you remember in the movie Knocked Up? They created that website where you could go and you could find the exact timing of when you see boobs in a movie. I'm gonna do that.
And then they found out that it already exists and is a real website.
I'm gonna do that for eyeballs.
That's what made me think. I wonder if maybe there is a site that does that already.
And clowns.
I don't know if it'd be specific to eyeballs, but
Eyeballs and clowns.
maybe I wonder if there's maybe a site that's just like a trigger warning or like phobia site for movies and shows where people watch it and then go, like at 1 hour 15 minutes there's an eyeball thing.
Yeah, they should.
I wonder if that exists. If it doesn't exist, that's actually a pretty smart idea. I don't know.
Sitting on a gold
I don't
mine.
know if it'd be as successful as Mr. Skin is successful. That's literally just about where can you see naked celebrities.
Well, it's not just eyeballs; it's eyeballs and.
No,
clowns.
I know, but I'm just saying I don't think people would pay for that as much as they would pay to figure out
boobies.
where they can see all the naked celebrities.
For
at.
boobies.
I think there's a little bit of a difference between supply and demand there. I don't know that there's a lot of demand.
I don't know. I might have a big community I don't know about.
You might. There might be. Actually, you might hit two markets on that front. You might get the people who don't want to see this stuff and want to cover their eyes, but also the people
don't
who
say
only
it.
want to see this, who only want to see that stuff. Like,
I only
where's all
like
the eyeball
I
stuff?
only like movies with eyeballs in them.
I'm gonna have to look that up after and see if that's a real thing because that would actually be very funny.
Have nightmares.
Oh,
There was one other thing that I was really jazzed about in this movie that you said, is that right? Is that right? And we were both kind of like, I said, we got our first ever Batman fuck. Not the action, the word. No one No one had
Batman's definitely had sex in movies before.
Yeah, but has anyone ever
100%.
said fuck in a Batman movie?
You might not.
We got the word.
You just named your website. I see you.
I don't like it. I mean, I like it, but I don't like it.
She did bring up a point. At one point, in the middle, I don't even remember. I kind of remember where it is, but one character I don't remember the line, but he does like very audibly say "fuck." Then I was like, no, there's no way. They've definitely said. I was like, every PG-13 movie gets one use.
They get one, but they don't have to use it.
Of the F-bomb, and then I looked it up, and the only one that came up was the Snyder cut for Justice League, where Batman. I might have not looked. I literally said, "Does Batman say fuck?" Or is fucked said in a Batman movie or something? And it was literally Ben Affleck as Batman saying we're fucked or something.
I bet there's been a shit.
No, almost certainly almost certainly there probably has been, but I don't know. I really honestly don't know. Joker probably, if you want to count that as a Batman movie, I feel like.
Oh yeah. He
almost
said fuck.
Definitely does. But I don't know. Honestly, in the Nolan movies, I can't think of it. In Schumacher or Tim Burton's movies,
Definitely not.
Can't recall anything. So you might be right. This might literally be the first time in a theatrically released Batman-centric Batman movie. It's the Joker or Suicide Squad. I mean, I don't know.
No, I don't know.
It's not like
I think they do like.
That'd be a really interesting thing if that ended up actually being true.
I didn't think that verbiage out before I said it. We gotta fuck in this movie. Not that.
No,
not like that.
He's definitely done that in movies.
Yeah.
Batman gets around.
Batman gets it.
Yeah.
He got that money.
Something about billionaires that just drive women wild.
I'll never understand it.
Billionaires with daddy, mommy issues. Yeah.
Butler issues.
Butler issues.
Sometimes.
Okay. Butler issues.
Alfred. I think they've gotten into a fight before.
Yeah. Probably.
So I feel smart for picking up on that.
I did see some people have been saying they feel like Colin Farrell's not in the movie enough as Penguin. I don't agree with that. I think he's in it like just the perfect amount.
Perfect amount.
Because he does, and maybe it's just one of those things that he does kind of show up kind of in the background a few times. Maybe what they meant is like more main screen time and not just like in the background as a crony.
I think that he had to find the perfect balance of giving each of them their time to shine in their characters.
I mean, I would say I'd want to see Riddler more, but I think I don't know. It almost might ruin the like mystique of the character if
Yeah.
there was more to him than what's shown. He's in it. He's in it a ton. Don't get me wrong. He is, after
Yeah.
all, like the central focus for the. He's literally the driving force for the entire movie. But
Another
it's
thing.
all like, not much of it is like face to face
No.
time.
Yeah, exactly. He was on his own a
But I
lot.
think that still works because that's sort of the Riddler's thing. Is like I've made these traps and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Go see if you can solve them.
And what's great about his Riddler too, the Jim Carrey one, it was like these goofy like limerick kind of like Riddler things. This one, this one, it almost like when you watched Saw, and while you're watching that movie, you're kind of trying to figure out in your head where this is gonna go. A lot of the riddles that he does in this movie, you're like, "Hmm, maybe I can figure it out before Batman does."
I don't think. I feel there's maybe one or two where they actually like really have to think about it in
Yeah.
the movie. The one big main one I feel like was pretty obvious from the beginning. I don't know how no character in the movie kind of picked it up, but it's also one of those things of like it's a movie. It could quite literally only really go one way.
Right.
And eventually like these two characters have to meet or clash in some sort of way. So it feels like it's a bit obvious.
As an audience.
But yeah, so the characters aren't always the brightest or something. But that's also like leads into again, Batman's only in like his second year. He's not at this point the world's greatest detective. Although they do make a reference to that at one point. There's like a throwaway joke line of like, "Oh, you're the world's greatest detective." But he's only been doing it for 2 years, so he's not quite like detective.
Yeah. He's not Murder on the Orient Express or whatever.
Yeah, he's not Hercule Poirot or Sherlock Holmes solving every little tiny thing. He needs assistance, and it's all works out really great. Maggie really she likes bad puns and jokes.
I do.
So the Riddler's thing is the Riddler just in a character, not necessarily in this movie, yes, but as the character in general in all of his iterations.
Love puns.
All of the riddles are always like really bad like puns in some sort of way. And there was like the very first one in the movie when they said it and then they said what the answer was, she went, "I love that."
I got so excited.
She's like, "I love that."
I'm never gonna forget that. I wrote it down to my phone in the notes section. I thought that was so great.
So in like 2 months, she's gonna come ask me, and I'm gonna have forgot all about it, and I'm gonna go, "I don't know," and then she's gonna say it, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah."
Did you tell anyone my chicken joke?
No. Chicken joke?
What do you call a chicken looking at a head of lettuce?
I don't know what.
Chicken sees a salad. A chicken sees a salad. Get it?
I hate that. I hate every single one of these things she hears on TikTok and then has to come tell me.
It's the best because I will literally put my phone down and get up and run in here and stand here awkwardly waiting for you to acknowledge me. And then
yeah, she stands right off to the side, waiting for me to be like, "What?
What do you call a chicken?" Anyway.
Anywho.
It was such a good movie, and someone said when I was watching the Hot Ones episode, I don't know if you do this, but I kind of like
I don't read the comments.
I go through the comments and I look and I see what people say, and it was all really positive stuff. But one person said that they know that.
Yes,
Exactly.
D-pad, exactly like those two.
Yeah.
Oh God.
This guy.
That's probably where she gets half of them.
It is. It's just a matter of time if I've seen it before you've seen it.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, one of the comments that I liked on the Hot Ones episode was how Colin Farrell does a lot of really independent movies. And he does things that aren't always like really, really big blockbusters. But someone said he seems to be on the same kind of trajectory as what Robert Downey Jr. went through, because he went through really bad addiction. He went through rehab. He was in the news a lot for kind of being an idiot and embarrassing
Uh-huh.
himself. And he's sober now, and he's
That's how I feel, D-pad. Anyway,
my laugh is not annoying though.
no.
Anyway, so he's been sober the last like several years.
Colin Farrell?
Yeah.
I had no idea about this. I was like, are you talking about Robert Downey Jr.? Because I
No.
don't know if Colin Farrell's having that issue.
But someone saying like this role and this thing that he just did in Batman, like really, they think that he's going to reignite his,
I think so.
like people are going to be
Honestly,
like, oh shit, he really is amazing and he really is
I
multifaceted and all
again,
that.
we kind of said this at the top. Is I think both Colin Farrell again. Everybody knows him. He's been in a bunch of stuff. Some things have flopped. Some things have been more like independent and great, like The Lobster, whatever, or like his Total Recall movie wasn't received super well, but it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine. It was like unoffensive.
Yeah.
It was fine, whatever. And he's always had like, In Bruges, people absolutely love In Bruges.
Love that movie.
And then he's got like the independent things, like The Lobster, so weird and different, but it's
Very
like,
niche.
it's so good, but like it's not going to be for everybody.
Yeah.
Or then he tries to market to the big people with like Total Recall and whatever, and it doesn't do the best. But this, like, he's from anything I can remember having seen him in or him being in, I've never seen him do a performance like this. He's just totally unrecognizable. I do hope it leads to him doing more stuff, because if he can turn out performances like this, fuck yeah. Or come back as the Penguin in a sequel, or in, I don't know. But if this is going to tie into other DC movies, no idea. But yeah, or shows. Come back and do like being the next Suicide Squad or something. I don't know.
I think he definitely kind of hit a narrow road in his career, and I think with this he's back on the highway.
And then I think Paul Dano's gonna like skyrocket from this.
Same.
Paul Dano's been around for a long time, and he's always,
never gotten the credit that he deserves.
Always been great. But this is just like, people are gonna see this and they're gonna just literally be like,
it is kind of funny. I was kind
of thinking about this in my head earlier. Is like, people really, really, really took to Heath Ledger's Joker.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie released just after he had died.
Yeah.
So like all of a sudden there's buzz because like this actor who's gonna be in this thing passed away, and then he won the Oscar for it, and he, like, no offense to Heath Ledger or his family or whatever, he only won that because he died.
I don't think so.
He was good, but I don't think he would have got it if he was
alive. How much of that he improvised?
Yeah, but I don't think he would have got it if he was alive.
I don't know. I'd like to think so.
The Oscars don't like comic book movies. They gave it to him because he died.
Maybe.
Because it was a big deal that he died. That's literally it. But I think, again, I don't know. I think I like Paul Dano better as a villain than Heath Ledger as the Joker. I think his Riddler is just, it's different. It's like it's a different character as well. It's not like they're playing the same thing or whatever. But like Paul Dano is just like,
it's a different level.
He is like creepy, and like just like the riddles are creepy and kind of weird, but he also feels like an actual threat.
His talk is creepy,
everything about it, and then, man, it was just so great. I don't remember who he's nominated against. Hold on, let me look.
Is it The Last Duel?
No, he's saying if he doesn't win for King Richard.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of who's up against him.
Oh, that's what I was looking at.
The funny thing though about Paul Dano and Colin Farrell
So,
is that they both have been.
oh, oh man. Okay, so D-pad. So, totally
I can't
different
read.
topic. Actors in the leading role: Javier Bardem for Being the Ricardos,
Oh,
Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield for Tick Tick Boom,
oh,
Will Smith for King Richard, and Denzel Washington for The Tragedy of Macbeth. We've not seen The Tragedy of Macbeth. I don't particularly
doesn't
care
matter.
to. Um, but off that list, to be honest, before off that list, we had only seen 3 of those movies last year.
Wait, I want to say what I think before you say what you think.
I was
See if
gonna
we agree.
say if I had to have picked before like 2 weeks ago, I probably would have said Benedict Cumberbatch, like only slightly over Will Smith. And now you can say what you want to say.
Tick tick boom.
But now I think I'd say Andrew Garfield for Tick Tick Boom. We watched Tick Tick Boom like
Agreed.
2 weeks ago, and the performance Andrew Garfield gives in that is like
Sorry, D-pad.
awesome. And if people always want to be like, do they really only consider like that one movie, or was like this is Andrew Garfield's nomination for everything he did in 2022, including Spider-Man. Um, but yeah, Tick Tick Boom. I think Andrew Garfield was like next level. In that I won't be upset if Will Smith gets it.
No, he was really good. That was a really
But
good movie.
I lean to Andrew Garfield on this one.
I cried harder during Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah.
Felt like a
Um,
baby.
he was amazing in that movie. He really was. Uh, okay, let's not look at that. Well, maybe we'll
Sidetrack.
stream or watch the Oscars in Discord or something that night. Get like a party together or something for it. Who knows?
Well, Oscar
Anyway, any final thoughts on Batman?
I mean, I definitely recommend it to everybody, even people that aren't big comic book
Oh
fans.
yeah. Wait, was your friend the same one who posted on my comment that said that was like, I'll watch this after we see it, or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
or I'll read this after we see it.
yeah.
I was also asked. I shared it in a couple other places. One person's like, "Could you put a spoiler tag on that?" I was like, I did, like, because they asked me to, which is fine. But I'm also just like, I don't write reviews that have like any
Spoilers in it.
massive spoilers in it.
Oh, Will Smith won the SAG award.
Nah, we'll see. I mean, have the Golden Globes happened yet?
I don't know.
I don't know. Golden Globes are usually a pretty good indication, but they're not always one for one leading up to the Oscars. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, as you're saying,
But yeah. Anyway, I recommend it to people that love comic book, that love Batman, that love comics, that don't love comics, that love true crime or not true crime, crime. That's not a true story. um, it the acting's phenomenal. The characters are great. The music is awesome. Um, I don't know. I loved everything about it. I am so torn because a part of me really wants to see it again, but I also don't want to sit through another 3 hours. Um, but I would watch it like if it comes out on.
you should watch The Long Halloween.
I'm gonna watch. I am actually because the only thing that I know outside of like the old school, the old school stuff, like from being a kid, the comic books, I read that when I was a kid. The only thing outside of that is the Killing Joke. That's the only other,
Which we have
yeah,
somewhere,
which I have.
and the movie sucks.
I haven't seen the movie, but
The
I've got the book.
movie, well, the movie, like
I
the
just know that it
first
was very
25% of it, maybe 25 minutes, isn't good. It's all like original stuff that they put in, and it's trying to be like, I wouldn't necessarily say like super woke, but it like
it's
puts in
supposed to be
these
more,
like for the time like political
yeah.
like flavor sort of into it to make it seem like more modernized or of the times, and then it's got a really like just kind of out of nowhere sort
Mhm.
of forced relationship sort of subplot thing that's supposed to make you feel like even worse for Barbara what happens to her
Oh yeah.
in the second half of The Killing Joke. But once it gets past that first like not good opening and then it's just The Killing Joke, it's quite literally just The Killing Joke. It like
Yeah.
follows it pretty much to a T. So if you know the story, I mean, it's fine. I'm not particularly a massive fan of the Killing Joke. I could maybe understand like at the time when it came out, it was like shocking,
Yeah,
like
that was the big
what
deal.
was done to the character and
Yeah.
whatnot. But it's like I, I don't know when that came out, but I've only really ever known Barbara Gordon as a character as either Batgirl or as the Oracle when she was already in a wheelchair. So
If you watch the TV show Gotham on Fox, then
I did not because that
I
show was not good.
I did, and she sucked.
That show wasn't good.
Nope. Yeah,
That show was not good.
but the guy that played Oswald Cobblepot in that,
Was
I got to
yes.
see him at a Comic-Con, and
Yeah.
he was very nice. A girl went to meet him and give him a hug, and when she walked away, her lip balm fell out of her jeans pocket, and he got up and he ran to give it back to her. He was a gentleman.
Very nice of him. Anyway, what would you rate the movie?
10 out of 10. Oh, 10 out of 10. I accept the eyeball.
10 out of 10. I accept the eyeball. There you go. High
I'm not
praise.
happy about it, but the rest of the movie made up for it.
Um, just my quick closing thoughts are basically what I said at the beginning. I think it's a fantastic movie. I do think it's maybe
little
about
long.
20 minutes too long. Um, but I think all of the cast is good. Even I've heard some people complain that Robert Pattinson is like when he's Bruce Wayne, he's like way too broody. I didn't really feel that. I feel like a few times he kind of is.
Also, he's got a good excuse to be broody.
I
I'd be broody too.
Sure, but like I don't. It didn't bother me. It's not like it wasn't like I watched that and it's like, oh man, he's like such a bummer.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, not really. Like he spends the majority of the time in the Batman suit for the movie. So when he is Bruce Wayne, like he's good. He's fine. He doesn't like there's like it's not like he's going out to socialize or be a socialite like you'd see like Michael Keaton doing,
Right.
like going to parties and being fancy and being like smiley and like nothing bothers him. That's not this version of the character. So that doesn't bother me. I think all of the cast is great. Again, I think Paul Dano and Colin Farrell are
Really still the show.
like absolutely steal the show. They're both phenomenal. Paul Dano more so, but Colin Farrell is a fantastic secondary like bad guy villain represented in this. The best, hands down. Sorry, Danny DeVito. Colin Farrell is hands down, no questions asked, the best live action version of the Penguin. Also, sorry to what was his name? He was Rocky's coach in Rocky. Burgess Meredith. Sorry, your Penguin from the '60s show, which was very much like the basically the comic book character, or you know, and ended up influencing the comic book character. Sorry, Burgess Meredith, but Colin Farrell is now literally the quintessential Penguin in my eyes. Also, sorry Nolan North for the Arkham games and stuff. Your Cockney accented Penguin with a glass bottle shoved in his face is good, but Colin Farrell's the best Penguin now. And I'd even probably say Paul Dano's probably the best. Not that there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
But you know, sorry Jim Carrey, you're like really over the top cartoony Riddler. Doesn't hold a candle.
It was fine at the time. I would also like to say one thing that I really enjoyed, which is a very small itty bitty detail. In all the Batman movies, Batman, when he's wearing his mask, you know, he's got the black around his eyes. Okay? And then every time we go from Batman in the mask to Batman out of his mask, all of that's just gone, and they never explain it. They don't ever show you him using micellar water or makeup remover taking off the black shit on his eyes. This movie, you got to see him just leave it on and just wipe it away.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for explaining that, finally.
But yeah, just again, I'm in total agreement. I think this is a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10?
I think I have the one nitpick, and that's just that I think it is a little too long, but I wasn't bored with that extra time. It didn't feel like it slowed down the pace of the movie or anything. But yeah, I have nothing but positive things to say. This is currently by a whole like 2 ratings my favorite movie of the year. I think it's the first 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 that I've given for the year. It's probably gonna stay up there. I don't give too many 5 out of 5s out, so it's probably gonna end up somewhere in the top 10 of the year anyway.
Mhm.
This movie's fantastic. If again, the real question, sort of as the stream title says, or as we kind of started out, if you're going to see a movie this weekend, family, friends, whatever, a date, should you see the Batman?
I'm gonna get my sign off button.
I would say 100% yes. I don't know that it's the best movie to take a date to, but if you want to find out if they're into like true crime type shows or something, then there you go. That might be a good sort of segue to find something out. Or just don't go to a movie for your first date or something, unless
You like my?
you're like us and you like movies and that's what you do anyway. Um, Here's Max. Max, did you like the Penguin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like the Batman? Was it your favorite Batman? He says that he likes George Clooney as Batman.
Oh
It's
no.
so weird.
Oh no.
Don't criticize him too hard.
What a terrible opinion.
He's young. He doesn't know.
He's just a baby.
But there you go. We both think it's definitely worth going to see this weekend. And again, like I said, I believe I read if you're not going to go see it, you can't financially see it, or maybe you're not comfortable going to theaters. It should be arriving on HBO Max early April. Either I think April 11th is what I wanted to say that I read, but sometime there. I know for sure when it comes out, I'll probably
I'm
watch
gonna
it
watch
again.
it again. Yeah. Not in the theater, but we'll watch
And then
it.
also, if you're not going to see it anytime soon, and you don't know about The Long Halloween, and you have HBO Max, go watch The Long Halloween Parts 1 and Part 2. They just came out last year. They're animated, but they're absolutely fantastic. One of the better animated Batman movies. And it's fantastic. So
I look forward to watching that.
I think that's going to be it from us. Thank you for coming by.
Thank you.
And listening to us talk about Batman. We're going to try and we kind of changed up the format a little bit, or we're going to be. We used to do these on Monday, but now we kind of thought about it and thought maybe what's best to do moving forward is going to be thinking of a topic we can discuss in the starting point of the show during the week, and maybe bring on a guest or somebody to talk about whatever that topic might sort of be, and then at the end doing a review of whatever movie we see Thursday night, as which would typically be like the big release for the week, and then just say if we think it's worth going to see that weekend or not, and then maybe talk about whatever other movies are coming out that weekend. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna try and retool a lot of this stuff. This is a slightly different setup than we'd had in the past, but I might change all this again before next week. Who knows? We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, thanks for coming in and joining us and listening to us ramble on about the Batman and how amazing everybody was in it.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye.
And D-Pad's gonna see you in Elden Ring.
Yeah, he would be. He said he wasn't playing tonight. And now he's already on.
Addict.
He is. He's very addicted to it. He's put in like 20 hours more than I
We should plan an intervention.
I've said we need to have an intervention for him. He literally, one night, he literally goes, okay, I'm getting off to go to sleep. And he turned it off and then turned it right back on and goes, never mind, I'm going to go kill this boss.
Why?
And then spent like another hour killing the boss.
He's just like, I gotta get the boss.
He
I gotta
is.
get the boss.
He's got a problem. He's got a real problem.
Bye.
Goodbye. I almost forgot that we have an ending thing.
Game over.